This show is loaded with dazzle, sizzle, and zip. Don't be tempted for even a moment to flip.
Stay with us for Artifacts next.
Hi, I'm Janet Zahn with the Office of Film, Video, and Recording for the City of Minneapolis.
And I'm Phill Lindsay. I do arts development in the city of Minneapolis, and welcome to Artifacts. This is the show in which we talk about the arts and related issues here in the Minneapolis area. And what a lineup of guests we've got on this show. We're really excited. Christian Holder and Rhea Roderick will be here to tell you all about the City Children's Nutcracker. And I'll also be talking with Reid about acting and her life on stage in the Twin Cities.
Then it's on to a scene from Laser Lightning Hose Clamps and a lively discussion with several members of the Twin Cities Actors Union.
I'm glad you could just say that. And for our final segment, Jack Edwards and Michael Murnane will dazzle you with everything they know, and maybe a little bit I know, about the Holidazzle parades taking place in downtown Minneapolis throughout the holiday season.
Speaking of Holidazzle, we have some sparkling video from the Holidazzle parades up next, followed by what will certainly be a sparkling conversation with Phill and his guests from the City Children's Nutcracker.
The wonderment of a parade and a celebration of the holidays. Between now and New Year's, come to the Nicollet Mall in Minneapolis and experience the enchantment of Holidazzle. Witness the magnificent floats, fantasy characters, and dazzling lights of this one-of-a-kind parade. Call 270-SNOW for parade times and volunteer information.
Well, I'm really excited about this show because we have award-winning guests, or people that are involved with award-winning projects here. That was just a little clip about the Holidazzle, and we'll be looking behind the scenes at Holidazzle later on, and we'll be talking with Reid, and Janet has a very fun segment coming up with some actors. But another award-winning project here in Minneapolis is the City Children's Nutcracker, and I'm very pleased to have two guests on who have principal roles in this. Rhea Roderick.
Yes.
Back for the third year.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Christian Holder.
How do you do?
How do you do? It's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Christian is joining the City Children's Nutcracker for the first time this year.
Yes.
But you're not a stranger to the Twin Cities or dancing.
No.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, my first visit to the Twin Cities was with the Joffrey Ballet in the 70s. I was with the Joffrey Ballet for about 13 years, and we came to Minneapolis for the first time in the mid-70s. And then there was about a period of 5 or 6 years when I didn't come. And in recent years, I've been back as a guest of Minnesota Dance Theatre, Ballet Arts Minnesota, excuse me, who have been hosting residencies for Martien van Hamel's New Amsterdam Ballet.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've been able to create some of my newest works as a choreographer here.
Right. And you're multi-talented. I mean, not only are you a dancer, but you choreograph and you also do costume design.
Yes.
Yes.
It's been fun.
Well, maybe we can talk about that a little bit. You created the role of Marie
Yes.
in this.
Yes.
Talk about it a little bit. Tell us,
Oh.
for those who maybe aren't familiar, and there are probably a few watching the show, tell us about the City Children's Nutcracker and then your role in it.
The City Children's Nutcracker is a great production. I have enjoyed it. This will be my third year doing Marie, and it's really great to work with this production. The kids are wonderful, and it's just great to see how they light up and they're excited to perform. Most of the time, especially the kids from the parks, it's their first time performing, ever dancing, and it's mixed with kids who have had dance training for, I guess, a number of years, and it's just really wonderful to work with this production. It's, for kids, and it's, with a lot of kids, so it's great. And doing the role of Marie has been wonderful. It's been great. It's my first time ever doing Marie in Nutcracker before. I've done other Nutcrackers, but this is my first time playing Marie for 2 years, and it's great. I like it a lot.
I must say, I watched in the first 2 years, and I'll watch you again this year, and you're very elegant in what you do.
Oh, thank you
very
very much.
good at it. And Christian, I'm very excited to have you here, as I know everybody affiliated with this production is. I should mention, too, that it's not only the Minneapolis Parks that send the kids with ballet arts with their young dancers that you were talking about. The Greater Twin Cities Youth Symphonies are involved with some, if not all, of the music. So they're down there in the orchestra, because this all takes place at Northrop Auditorium.
It's great because, everything is pretty much done with kids, the orchestra, like you just said, and the park kids and the ballet arts kids. It's
Yeah.
it's a collage.
Now later on, we're going to look at a little bit of a clip from, I think, last year's Nutcracker production, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about what we're actually seeing there, but it's very exciting. Now, in getting ready to sit and talk here, both of you said something really kind of surprising. We're talking about international travel and this and that, and in your professional lives, you have done some of that. Now, Christian, where have you been? You actually are not an American citizen. You are
No,
from-
I grew up in London. My training started in London. The family is from Trinidad, West Indies. I've been on stage since I was 3 years old.
And you were on stage at a very impressive event at 3 years old.
Well, my debut was for the coronation of Elizabeth II, dancing on a barge going down the River Thames, which is dating me a little bit, but it's the truth.
Yeah, well, 3 years old, too. I mean, yeah.
And then after starting early dance training in London, I came to New York on a scholarship, and then Robert Joffrey saw me and invited me to join his company, and that turned into a wonderful career, 13-year career, traveling to Austria, back to London, what was the Soviet Union at that time, traveling throughout the States.
Great way to see the world.
Fabulous. And working with wonderful, wonderful people,
Yeah.
choreographers as well as dancers.
Right, and you're based in New York now,
Based in New York now, yes.
as is Rhea Roderick.
Yes, yes, I
Okay.
am.
What got you into dance?
My mother was a early divorced parent, and so she had to work on the weekends. And I have one other sister who is an actress, and she wanted us to have something to do, recreation on the weekends. So it was something to keep us busy, and also while she went to work. And we got into dancing and acting, a little bit of singing, and we liked it a lot, and we started to get scholarships, and we kind of stayed with it, and I kind of ventured more into dance, and my sister more of acting, and it kind of stemmed from there. It started something just for recreation, and then we loved it, so we stayed with it, yeah.
I'm going to suggest maybe we take a look at the clip that I mentioned a moment ago so we can get a flavor, anyhow, of the City Children's Nutcracker. And maybe as it comes up, either of you, but I know, Rhea, you were there, so maybe between us, or between you, you can tell us what we're seeing here. This is, again, on the stage of Northrop over at the University of Minnesota. And here we go.
Right now you're seeing the second act of the Nutcracker, and this is the Waltz of the Flowers. And this is, I think, one of the last dances of the second act, and the girls are flowers.
Okay, and these particular dancers, I'm going to guess, are with ballet arts?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is Maureen, myself, and the Nutcracker Prince, and we are coming in and looking at all the flowers, the finale of the show. We're still in the land of the sweets.
And Christian, you said that you had never anticipated being Drosselmeyer.
No, I've done some varied roles, but Drosselmeyer wasn't one of them. And I'm very excited, actually, because so far my rehearsals have been private rehearsals with Bonnie Mathis, and then I met Rhea just the other day, and we've worked together. But I've yet to see it all come together like this. Is what
Now, who
we're
are these
seeing
folks
now.
in these bright red costumes?
This is the Spanish dancers. And
In a sense, now you're kind of reviewing what had gone on with earlier
exactly.
pieces.
We're about to say goodbye to everyone, so it's everyone is kind of doing their last little dance
Yeah.
before we go back into.
Is there
my suite.
anything new this year that you can share with us? I know they always do a little something different.
Yeah, they do a little bit of changing in choreography and things, and one great change is at Drosselmeyer. So
Absolutely.
you know,
That's right.
Literally a big change.
right.
Big change.
6'3" and 5'1".
Well, that makes the lips
So
a
that'd
little
be very
easier.
interesting, yeah. Yeah,
Sure.
so I think choreography will be a little bit different, and maybe certain things in the set will be a little different.
Yeah. And I believe soon here, what we'll see is are some of the park kids that come in as well.
Right.
And there's a whole pencil of them. What were you
Oh,
gonna
there's
say?
a lot. I was going to say that was the Sugar Plum Fairy, and she sort of starts the second act in the land of the sweets. But the park children should be coming very soon.
Cute.
And
There
they're
they
all
are.
excited and just...
You know, I will say that the presence of people like yourself, Rhea, and Christian, certainly this year, has really inspired some of these young people. I know that, I mean, just day by day it's important, but a few of them have been making decisions to go into dance.
Right, and that's really exciting for them and for me because they see that, you know, wow, I can do this, and it's fun, and it's discipline, and it's good for if they even not, you know, get into dance for a career. It's just, you know, they like it and they're getting good training and being disciplined.
That's right. I think the cliche always, too, is team sports. Teaches kids how to work in a team, but of course this is ensemble performance.
Right,
You have to pay attention to each other and things like that. So. This may seem a little mundane, but I wanted to ask you about the stage. One of my criticisms of the Twin Cities is we don't have an excellent dance space, although I think Northrop probably comes as close as any. How is Northrop to dancing? Is that a good space for this kind of a production?
Yes, I think so, absolutely.
Good space. It's a nice size stage. It's good. It's nice,
Yes. Yes, I've always been very happy on the Northrop stage.
Oh yeah, no, I don't mean to criticize it in itself, but I've heard from dancers that there are always a few things, a little more space here or a different texture for a floor or something, that you can always seek that.
That's what's nice, it's a challenge. I mean, dancing in different theatres, I mean, you can look at it as not as a negative, but as a challenge to how to gauge your performance.
Well, I suppose it beats a barge.
This is true.
Possibly, I don't know.
The stage stays still.
Yeah, that's true. Of course, I suppose it'd be hard to make a good exit off of a barge if you weren't too happy with what you just did. We've only got a couple moments left, and before we go, I do want to see if we can mention the dates for this. Now, by the time this show is running in December, the Nutcracker goes on in the middle of the month, or actually a little earlier than that.
Right.
What are the dates, Rhea?
The 8th, 9th, and 10th of December.
Okay, at Northrop.
Yes.
And I think we might be able to get a shot of a beautiful poster that you folks brought in.
Yeah.
And so people will see these. I know they'll also be up on billboards and all kinds of places that people can get information about it. And we'll flash on our screen the dates and a number of people can call to do that. Well, with the brief moment we've got left, future projects, Christian, what's up for you after this cold Minnesota season?
Actually, in the process of writing a book about my years with the Joffrey, which is quite a cathartic experience to see your years in black and white as history. So we are shopping it as we speak for a publishing house, editor and publishing house.
So you've got some words on paper already?
Oh yes, 4 chapters done and a very specific outline.
Good for you.
And I'm very, very excited.
Yes.
Very, very excited.
Do you have a working title?
Reflections on an Era, Dancing for Robert Joffrey. It's about the 60s and 70s in the United States, which was such a rich and fertile time for the arts and for the country in general.
Indeed. Well, we'll look for that. Amazing. Multi-talented gentleman here. And Rhea, how about yourself? What's going to be going on?
I would love to. I am going to continue in classical dance, and I would love to do some work in Europe, definitely. I said before to you that I traveled in Europe, and I loved it there, and do some work and like meeting, you know, different people and doing this production. You can exchange and you know, you never know, do work with you know, different people. But I'm looking to continue with my classical dance and work with lots of people.
Sounds good, Rhea. I want to thank you both for being here. Look forward to seeing the City Children's Nutcracker this month. Rhea, thank you so much. Christian, a pleasure to meet you.
We'll meet again.
All right. Well, by all means, catch the City Children's Nutcracker. And coming up next, we want you to meet actor Tara Reid. But just before she joins us, take a look at this interesting art fact. My next guest is somebody I'm excited to have on the show, somebody that I saw, although I didn't meet last summer, in Lisa Jones's Combination Skin at the Pillsbury House in South Minneapolis. Tara Reid, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you here. And Tara is an actor, and I just learned as we were sitting down to talk that you have some other dimensions to you as well, other things that you've done within the art world. But let's just start with kind of introductions. What have you been doing besides Combination Skin? You came out of college with some acting training?
Well, actually, I didn't really focus so much on acting when I was in school. I ended up directing more, doing more administrative things. I headed up the Black Dramatic Arts Group all 4 years I was there. And so that's when I started doing directing and writing. And then after I graduated, I kind of wanted to try out the administrative side of things. So I began by interning at the Playwright Center in Development. And then I did costumes for the Nafina Irish Theater for a production last December, January. And then after that, I began my full-time job at Penumbra, where I'm an administrative associate. I was in combination skin, and then I also curated a series of performance pieces for The Walker in conjunction with the Carrie Mae Weems exhibit. And
Well, that's a resume right there. This is amazing.
I'm very happy that I'm only
Yes.
a year or so out of school, and I've been able to do so much, just giving me a really good sense of...
Everything you just listed was within about a 12-month period,
Yeah.
roughly speaking? Well, let's tick them off in order, and this will be a test for me now. At Carleton, though, and you say mostly directing and the Black Artists,
Black Dramatic Arts Group.
Yeah, now what was that about? And you helped found that?
No, I was not a founder. I just kind of came in and ended up taking it over for the period I was there. And
So you hit things running pretty much here.
Yeah. Well, okay.
All right.
And that entailed a lot of directing, also basically helping facilitate productions, because a lot of the black students at Carleton who were directing or wanting to do shows, it was their first time around. And so I came into college with more acting experience, and so I had a better idea of how to put things together, I found. And so I did a lot of that work while I was in school. And I kind of also, it was interesting because I really, really enjoy performing, and that's probably my first love, but it's also really nice to see the whole process, to be putting the whole process together from a lot of different angles.
Well, it sounds like you've really rounded it out. I mean, you've done the
Yeah.
direction, so you've been on stage, off stage, and,
Yep.
and even the administrative side of it
Yep.
as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there a big plan that's going on here for Tara Reid?
I don't know. A lot of people seem to look at the things I've done and ask me if I want to run a theater. But after working at Penumbra, I'm not really sure, because it's very challenging. I mean, the artistic side, of course, is the glamour side, and the side where all the excitement and fun is happening. But working at Penumbra in my current capacity as administrative associate, I've really seen how difficult it is to just make sure you make payroll, to make sure you've got grants coming at the right time, be getting out proposals, thank you notes, contracts, all the different laws you have to abiding with the different kinds of unions like Actors Equity. That's the union that we deal with mostly. So seeing that part of it has really, I have this huge appreciation now for any theater that can make it, because it's so difficult.
And I think people who know Penumbra admire it not only for the artistic product that they've done for all these years, but also their ability to survive, because as you say,
Yes.
that is, let's just say 50% of surviving in theater.
Yes, and it's so difficult, because I was thinking about it, and I remember getting to kind of an argument with a friend of mine, because he was asking, well, what good are the arts? What good are the arts? Because they have to be supported so much by corporations, by the government. But the thing is, it's not a mass market thing. And so anything in this kind of society that isn't mass market has to be supported, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not valuable.
Right, or
You
good.
know, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So, but actually Penumbra does pretty well, because I think approximately half of our income is earned income, which is very high.
And it sounds healthy, too, because you can't always count on that subsidy. I mean, that's kind of
Right.
dicey.
Right,
frankly.
right. And with something as subjective as art, people always question, well, do I want my dollars going towards this? And you never know
Right.
what's going to be happening. If you're not, if people don't perceive there's a need, then you're in trouble.
Well, and there are trends in that kind of support, too. And while Penumbra or a given theater might be riding the wave for a while, maybe there's something else that catches the attention, and
Right.
it doesn't mean that Penumbra's doing any less work
Right.
or less quality work. So.
Right.
Well, you said something that I was unaware of. Before you hit college, you had obviously done a lot of acting.
Yeah, my parents put me in acting class when I was about 10, because I was an extremely shy child, and
That's hard to believe.
I was very shy, and when I had to do book reports when I was in elementary school, it was absolutely terrifying to me. I would get up there and I would freeze, and I'd be very, very nervous. And so
I think my first out-of-body experience was a book report.
yeah.
I couldn't believe I was doing this thing. And
Yeah, in front of all these people.
Yeah, that's
Oh my
right.
gosh.
And they're the same
Yeah.
people you're playing with on the playground,
Right,
but it's a
right.
different role then. Can you get energy from stage fright? Can an actor do that? Can you turn that nerve? Sounds like you've maybe broken through that, but I mean...
Well, I think, but it's very difficult when you take that energy because it's very difficult to control it. If once you can control it, I think you're fine. But a lot of times, if you can't control it, you end up speaking too fast, or
get a little manic or something.
Right.
I noticed in Combination Skin, you did a great seethe. You were specimen number 2.
right.
And there was a point when somebody said something and you were just boiling inside. I saw that. Where did you get that energy?
Well, for
Did you rehearse
me,
that? Or
No, because once I get into the character and I start thinking about what's happening to that character, those things just kind of happen, in the course of the scene. And also definitely the audience energy feeds off of it. One thing that I was really happy with Combination Skin was that we had no less than 2/3 full of a house every night.
It was packed when I was there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, and so it was great to have all that energy coming out. And so that definitely contributed, but it was not, I don't think it was nervous energy, except for maybe
No.
the first night.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but
Then it
you were
might have
steamed.
been.
I could just tell
Yeah,
you do seethe well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Was it as fun to be in that show as it was for those of us watching it?
I think so. For me, I mean, I know I had fun. I know that some other people got kind of tired of the roles, because one thing that made that show difficult was that most of the roles, well, all of them pretty much, were mostly stereotypes.
Yeah.
And were not very dimensional. I felt that, like, my role, I felt I was pretty lucky because there were some very real qualities there that I could work with, particularly in the monologue, not so much in the opening segment where I come out and do my little marching around the stage.
Right.
So I think the people, so for me, it wasn't very, I still had fun with it, and it was a very challenging role for me because of that mix of things that were very real and very concrete,
Right.
and things that were totally bogus.
Yeah.
And that was very, very difficult to maintain that balance and to know when to play up the very extreme, silly parts of it. One of the opening thing, when I came up with that fake West Indian Caribbean pseudo accent,
Yes.
and then going into the monologue where that had to be very, very real and very convincing that I was feeling those things.
Yeah.
So
Well, it was nice work. I
challenging.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you very
That was
much.
good. I don't know. We've got just a moment or two left, unfortunately. The thing you did at the Walker, can you tell us what the show was and what you did there?
Sure. That was in conjunction with the Carrie Mae Weems exhibit. Carrie Mae Weems is an African-American photographer, and she's known for the narrative quality of the photographs she takes. And so what they wanted to do was try and bring some more African-Americans into the exhibit to see that. And so what I did for that was I put together a series of short performance pieces that were utilizing people, basically my friends, that were performing. And that we created pieces that were responses to the works up on the wall, and those are performed in the gallery. And so people would come through and they could look at the works and then see how we interpreted it and what it meant to us.
Wow.
So, yeah,
What a
it's
nice
really cool.
dimension to your work.
Yeah,
Bring that out. That's
yeah, because the most important thing for me about art, because the thing is, when you go through life, I mean, the thing that really matters are people and their selves and how they express that self. And I really think that art can help you connect to other people. And so it's great when you can see a work of art or see a performance and you just go, that's it. And you
Yeah,
know that
it
really,
clicks.
yes, exactly.
Huh.
And so that's something that I really like to go for. And so that was a very nice way of doing that, because you had the still on the one hand, which did that, and then our pieces, which hopefully did that as well.
Literally animate the
Yeah.
message there.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely.
Well, Tara, I'm afraid we're out of time. I'd like to have you stop back sometime and give us the
Great.
latest chapter in your
Great.
ever-building resume. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, well,
Thanks for
having
joining
me.
us. That's great. And from those wonderful words about the meaning of art, anybody who's ever participated in, perhaps as an actor, or watched a corporate video is going to enjoy our next scene. We're going to go kind of from the sublime to the ridiculous here. The Laser Lightning Hose Clamps sketch. This is a scene that features Bill Blieseth, Grant Ritchey, and Maureen Collins, who will join Janet, along with a couple other folks from the Twin Cities Local Actors Union, right after this.
Actors, when you're through with wardrobe, please report to the set.
Very smooth.
Shoot, I thought they were going to have wireless mics. I would have worn that suit with the bigger pockets.
Oh, yeah, well,
Oh, well.
I guess you can just...
Bill,
carry
can you
that.
tell I'm wearing dress shields?
Oh, turn around a little bit. Nope.
Really?
Don't show. Nope,
Okay.
you're all right.
Good. It's a beautiful suit.
Oh, thanks.
Wow.
Nate's.
Really?
Yeah. You know, I've got 2 jobs since I bought this suit.
Are you kidding?
Go figure.
Can I borrow it sometime?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was doing my warm-ups.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, do you guys want to run lines for that Unit 8 Activity 3, the
Yeah, definitely.
recommendation
Yes.
section?
These are tough
We
lines.
should probably rehearse.
Yeah.
Just set that to.
Well,
Okay. Anytime you're ready there, Grant.
okay.
Oh, okay. All right. That's
All right,
right.
I'm reading.
Wired here.
Let's go.
You
Okay.
go first.
Okay,
I don't think fancy discs will solve that problem. No matter how much we spend on discs, they're going to keep their set pace.
Oh, it's mine. So tell us about these roll-lock discs, Fred. Let's get on with it.
well, are you too familiar with the system?
A bit.
Actually, we played around with it for a couple hours one day.
Well, how did you like it?
Good.
Very
Smooth and fast.
Okay, I think that's what the director wanted.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Actors, take your places for Unit 9, please.
Unit 9? Excuse me, we thought that we were going to be shooting Unit 8, Activity 3, Recommendation.
We're shooting Unit 9, Activity 2, summarizing.
That's not what we rehearsed.
Shit.
Okay.
Hey, while we're down here, we should probably check our marks.
Yeah,
you know.
Right.
Here's the mark.
Okay.
My last mark. I don't see my first mark. Where's my first?
Here, you can use
We're
one of
just
mine.
borrowing a Bill's
Here you
marks.
go. It's coming us to the right
Okay.
here.
But then,
Start off. Sorry, I'm off camera. Sorry. Okay, ready?
Roll sound. And action.
I think this is really unnecessary, Eugene. We've been using Circle C hose clamps for a long time without any complaints.
I don't think it hurts to look at new products and possibilities.
So, does anyone have any questions about the laser lightning hose clamps?
I'm just not sure that we need these new clamps you recommended. Our Circle C hose clamps have performed flawlessly for 25 years.
Well, I think what Fred is saying, Rita, is that we need to keep up with new technology.
New technology, yes, but also you have to remember that your new engines operate at a higher pressure. You need a clamp that can hold securely. Now, we've talked about how fast these laser lightning hose clamps go on, in about 1/3 of the time as the Circle C's, which, well, it means you'll save time.
The increased productivity of the line ought to balance out the higher cost of the clamps.
Well, that's just my point. Laser lightning costs more. They do the same thing as the Circle C's. I mean, where's the economy in that?
Well, 85% of our cost is in labor. You know, I think it's worth a little extra to save 5 minutes in every assembler's hour.
Now, I can order you quantities of 1,000 or 10,000. Rita, I'd suggest 10,000. They'll last you a month, and you'll never go back to the Circle C's again. Hey, your assemblers will love these clamps.
Well,
Let's go ahead with this.
okay. Let's order 1,000 and we'll see how they work.
Good. Well, thanks for the order.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What are the decision-making styles of Rita, Fred, and Eugene?
Who do you think represents the financial perspective, the technical perspective, and the prescribers? Could I take that again?
All right, pick up.
Okay. Who do you think represents the financial perspective, the technical perspective, and the prescriber's perspective?
Stop the tape now, and your seminar facilitator will lead you in a discussion of your observations.
And cut. I like that. You brought out the physical life of the piece. All right, take 10 while we change lights for the next scene.
10. Okay.
Oh.
Hey, that went well, you
Yeah,
guys.
that's good. Bill, Bill, you didn't go on that Gervais Gene audition?
No, I don't get it, you guys. I mean, I wear jeans all the time. You'd think the casting director would have called me. I don't know.
I never wear jeans and I'm already on hold for that job.
You are.
I wonder if I should tell him I'm pregnant.
Hey, craft services, get
Yeah, let's
something
go
to
eat.
All right, then. Okay.
And that was a scene from Laser Lightning Hose Clamps. Thank you all for doing that. It was really fun. I got to catch you doing this scene at an AFTRA talent showcase a little while back, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But first, I want everyone to introduce themselves, and we'll start with Colleen.
I'm Colleen Aho. I'm the Executive Director of AFTRA.
Okay.
I'm Kathy Fuller. I'm an actor. I'm also the first Vice President of AFTRA.
And
Hi, I'm Bill Blieseth. I'm an actor.
Well, Colin's actor.
Grant Ritchey, actor.
actor.
Yeah,
That's
actor.
wonderful.
I think.
Yeah, you are, trust me.
I am an actor. I'm an actor.
Well, again, thank you all for being here. Tell me a little bit about the After Talent Showcase that you just did.
Well, it's the third one we've done, and we decided to do them at the request of local casting directors who said, we know there's a lot of good professional talent in town, but we don't always get to see them, or we get to see them doing commercial auditions or things like that. We'd like to see them really show their stuff. And we'd like them to be able to do something that they choose to do. So it's a project strictly of the local union, of the actors. The actors themselves have a committee and decide what they're going to do. We do it with an open lottery system. Anyone who's a member can apply. And they choose what they want to do, and it's a lot of fun. It's very creative.
It really is a lot of fun. As actors, what's the difference between doing a showcase like this and doing an audition? The idea of being able to show a director or someone something else that you can do. It's different, I'm assuming, that this is a different kind of a situation.
You customize it to your abilities. You know, in a commercial audition, you're going in hoping that you are what they want. Whereas this is, you can say, well, this is what I do well, and showcase that where they might not see that in another instance.
Tell us a little bit about what an audition for a commercial might be like.
No.
It's that awful.
They're lots of fun.
Yeah.
And you go in. There's usually there's casting directors in town, and so they'll the client will contact a casting director, and then they have an audition that goes through your agent. So you get a call, and so like today we have an audition, and there'll probably be about 200 actors there for 2 positions. So it's like it's all given that we're all talented because this is what we do for a living. But then it goes down to what the client likes. You know, if your nose is too big, or if you look like somebody's brother-in-law, then you lose the job. So, but if you look, I mean, that's basically how technical it gets, and it happens all the time. So, and so you go in there, and usually there's the first audition, you go in, and just with the casting director, you read the copy, or you make a face, or stretch your face, and then hopefully the client will like the capability of how you can stretch your face, and then they'll call you back for a second
It's
call.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got 30 seconds to try somehow convince them that you're the one that they should spend all this money on.
Yeah.
And also with auditions too, the timeline is amazing. You get called either the day before or the day of. You have to be there. Can you be there in 2 hours? Can you be there in an hour? Can you be there tomorrow at
Dressed
8
like a
a.m.?
monkey before
Yeah, right, exactly.
Or an elf.
And, you know, right, whatever.
Or you go as an elf and do a monkey audition.
Yeah, which often happens. You know, the lines of communication aren't clear. So it's stressful. Actually, auditioning can be very stressful because of the time. You're juggling schedules. As Grant was saying, your agent tells you one thing, you get there, and you find out it's something
But usually
different.
that doesn't happen. The agents are very good.
Yeah,
so,
they are.
They are.
No, but it does happen, and it's just part of the fun.
But it's also, too, it's kind of like the more you do this, hopefully you get a lot of auditions, and that's the key. And then you just kind of have to go in there and do it and forget about it. Because if you angst over every audition you have, you shouldn't be in this profession. So, you know,
That's true.
Really, it's so little about your talent and what you are capable of doing. It's really more about a look, especially for commercial auditions. I think in the industrial sphere, you really do have to read a script and be able to, be able to say lines. But when you're looking at a bite and smile, it's basically all in your look. And I think actors that are in the business a long time learn very early not to take this personally.
Very important.
Or you wouldn't, or you would be in a nut house.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be a little bit difficult. Sure.
It's hard because you give yourself completely, or you try to anyway.
In that 30 seconds.
Yeah. And so when you lay yourself open like that, you think, well, how could anyone not love me?
You work steadily, and I think we all do, all of us, which we're very, very fortunate. Thank you. And but it's like, you go on maybe about 15 auditions, and usually I think the odds are every 15 auditions you get a job. So it's like, now I'm on 16 today, so it's like, hopefully no.
Also,
Today's my day,
the
yeah.
other thing, too, about working steadily is that not all of us do not make a living, I'm sure, just doing commercials and industrial work, although that is the bread and butter of the actor. But you know, you do stage, you do voiceover. There's a lot of diversification in the you know, in the profession, and now with the advent of feature films coming here, there's one more level of.
It's called the freelance.
Yeah, that's it.
So, as in terms of your film and video work that you do in town, also you do radio commercials. I'm assuming some of your voice talent too, perhaps.
Trying to be.
Tell me about. Now, you said that that is your bread and butter.
The industrial film commercial work, yeah, that is really bread and butter. That's where you make your most money if you're going to make it.
Especially versus theatrical. It's like, you know, I just did a show and it's not a living wage, even though I'm equity, so therefore you have to balance it out. It's a real science to keep it all together. And because the shape that theaters are in now, there's just too many actors and not enough equity jobs or non-union jobs. So hopefully you have the commercial to balance it out.
How would you describe the market the last year, the corporate and commercial market for you as actors?
Oh man, I've had a great year. This is by far my best year, and I don't know if that's indicative of the market changing in the city, or it's just that I'm getting better. Maybe it's both, I don't know. I've just had a lucky year.
I find that 3 years ago it started picking up for me, and I think I've gained a little weight, and so.
Cut the tape.
No, but I'm 34 now, and when I hit around 31, work just started coming into. I think as I started getting older looking, and I think the work has been remarkable. Shut up.
You're saying all the right things.
Thanks, yeah.
You're doing very well.
Yeah, so.
Colleen, could you tell me a little bit about the union and how these folks and others become a member of the union?
Well, basically, they come into the union because someone hires them who is signed to a union contract. It might be a corporate producer, it might be a commercial job, it could be any sort of work that is under a union contract. And the first time they work, they would be covered by the union contract and protected. And basically, we know about their employment. The employer tells us they worked. At that point, they don't join. But if they continue to get work under a union contract after a month has passed, at that point, they come into the union. So that's basically it. It's basically because they're good performers and they get the job.
How many people are in the local AFTRA SAG?
Right now we have about 1,200 active members. Those are people actively card carrying and working and paying dues. We have thousands more than that who are on an honorable withdrawal status, who may at some point reinstate if they get work back in the industry.
It's a very flexible
type of market.
And it is also the talent in this town has a wonderful reputation. We mentioned a bit about the feature film industry coming in, and oftentimes really that's what I hear from producers that I'm talking to, is that they've heard about the talent that's here, and that's part of the reason they're here, and they're often surprised even beyond, I think, what they expect. It's really a good thing, and it's a good selling point for the city.
It's about the 4th or 5th biggest city in the country.
Fourth largest.
Market. And it's so great. I mean, a lot of us have lived in New York and LA, and it's like a lot of us choose to live here because of the lifestyle, but you can still make a living. So, because it's a wonderful town.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you to all of you for, first of all, doing the scene. It was wonderful. I know we were working with the not exactly glamorous kinds of equipment here, yeah. But I appreciate your doing that and coming in and being so flexible and willing to work with us quickly, putting that together. And I also really enjoyed that scene at the talent showcase. I do have to tell you, I got uncontrollable giggles just having worked on a scene like that. Oh, it's very serious. Yes, I know. But it was one of those things, having worked on on scripts like that and having seen them, and you did a great job with that, so I appreciate it. And thank you, Kathy, and Colleen, too, for coming with us. Appreciate it very much.
It's fun.
Well, next up, before we march on to the Holidazzle Parade with Phill, we'll show you one of the spots featured in the 1994 British Television Advertising Awards program, which is playing this December 14th through the 23rd at the Walker Arts Center. For tickets or more information, call 375-7622.
Because you can't talk, because you can't walk, because your mother has only got one pair of hands, because you're wonderful, except when you're hungry, because you woke your mother 6 times last night, because you hate shopping. Because of all these things, at Tesco, we'll give you somewhere to get changed, your own custom-made trolley. And we'll even warm your milk for you. Tesco. Every little helps.
Well, if you're like me, those were cute. I like seeing ads from around the world. But I have some world travelers here who are in large part responsible for a wonderful event that goes on in downtown Minneapolis, the very popular, award-winning, and maybe someday traditional Holidazzle Parade. I want to thank Michael Murnane. Thank you very much for joining me on the show. Michael made some special efforts to get back from a journey from the West Coast to be here. And Jack Edwards, pleasure to see you here. Thank you for joining us. And these two guys work, I guess you'd say, behind the scenes to make Holidazzle work well, to make it look great. Michael, you primarily deal with the electrical things?
Yeah, the lighting, the layout of the floats, as far as the electrical goes. We have to figure out how much electricity we can use, how many batteries we can put on a float, and
Right,
I have people helping me.
You're not wheeling a generator down here.
No, everything's run from 24-volt systems on the floats and 12-volt systems on the individuals.
Wow. Wow. And you are responsible in large part for how they look, the costuming of it?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Well, in just a moment, we're going to take a quick peek. We sent our crew on location out to the shop, which is, I think, out in Roseville, to look at a few things in process. And every year there's something new, as I understand it. And I believe this year there was an effort to get maybe a little broader ethnic representation in here, Jack?
Yes, we have the Chinese dragon this year.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Maybe we can get this up on our monitor now and tell us about the dragon and what we're going to see in Holidazzle 94.
94. Well, the dragon is a double effort, Jack Barklow, or triple effort, excuse me. Jack Barklow did the head, and he does all the floats. And I did the body. And I've been trying for the last couple of years to get more ethnic ideas into the parade. And so this is our first.
Okay, well that's a good start. And what are we looking at right here, gentlemen?
This float, judging by how close I am, would be, well, I can't really tell which float that is.
Pretty,
now.
actually. Yeah, but this is some of the electrical work you're responsible for.
Yeah.
Some of the
I mean,
detail.
everything is regular Christmas lights, just standard B lights that we convert. There's the dragon.
Oh, great. Boy, that's dramatic. Pay no attention to the man behind the screen.
That's right.
Wow. So this is obviously a collaboration between the three of you, designing it, making it look right. Lighting, are those all points of light I noticed on there?
On these creatures, yeah.
Wow.
Doodlebugs, they're built on carts, made from a lot of parts, golf cart parts and things like that.
Yeah. And obviously, maybe our audience doesn't know this, but these are not ready-made. I mean, this isn't something you get off the shelf.
We build everything from the bottom up, other than the big floats are built on truck chassis and vehicles that we've purchased and then stripped down.
What are some of the considerations you each, from your vantage point, have to deal with? Obviously things like weight. I mean, the lights weigh something. You've got human beings in there. The fabric has to maintain a certain amount.
Well, weight is a big issue on everything because the batteries that we put on these floats are the deep cycle marine style batteries. They're very heavy, and on one of the floats we have 26 batteries on. So that's the largest one, has almost 10,000 lights on it. This is this battery, the packages has as many lights as a couple of the large floats.
And the people have generally 2 batteries each, with about 120 lights per battery.
Those batteries are about 6 pounds
6 pounds apiece, yeah.
And so those are strapped on somehow?
Well, yeah, generally we find that if they are in the small in the back, that it's the best place to carry it, not to be seen, and also it's easier as far as...
Somewhat kind of a balance that way, you don't lose your...
Yeah.
That's right. Boy, that's remarkable what we're looking at right there.
Yeah, that was new of last year, the hook float. We spend a little time every year maintaining and then upgrading every float too to make them a little better.
Wow. Yeah, I have seen the parade. This may sound silly. I've seen it from above on a skyway, and you get that one vantage, and it's beautiful. But then also standing beside it as these things go by. I mean, it's a remarkable job you guys do. So, well, congratulations. That's a lot of work. People are probably saying, well, geez, Holidazzle Parade, downtown Minneapolis. We go down there between Thanksgiving and I guess New Year's or New Year's Eve or something. but it takes a lot of work to make these things happen. When do you guys start working on this? I mean, you don't, or do you get the call the week before?
Sometimes.
Yeah, well, we start usually in the summer. We'll start making decisions usually in the summer about what's going to happen, and unfortunately sometimes things get put off and put off and put off, so then we have to, you know, backtrack and run. But what's interesting is Holidazzle has always been kind of that way. When we originally built the parade, or had the idea to build the parade, several of us went down to Disney World and met with those folks there, and this was in, I believe, June of that year. And they said, well, when were you thinking of having, you know, one of these parades, you know, maybe next year or the year after that? And we said, no, this fall.
They were assuming like a year and a half.
Yeah, and they literally laughed at us.
Yeah, they said it's not possible.
Yeah, it is impossible. And then they said to us, you know, don't even consider it. So we came home and we put it off for a while again. It got put off.
After you came back?
Yes.
Oh, no.
And 2 months later, we started, 3 months later, we started building. It was very close to the whole build for the original parade was 12 weeks, I think.
That's incredible. Yeah, as a layperson, I saw it that first year, and you would never know that. I mean, it was just fabulous. It's great. Favorite parts of it? I mean, it sounds like you like the dragon a lot. I mean, are there favorite floats or challenges you've met that were most interesting to you?
Well, challenges for me have to do, of course, with the weather. So they all have to be bigger than the body, and also a different person wears them every night, so that they can wear, you know, sweatshirts and sweatpants or whatever underneath. So there are no dancing girls for that reason. You can't do any of that sort of thing because it's too cold. And also the making them adjustable in width and height and things so that people can, and it's still the lights, because of course the wires are inside.
What occurs to me as you describe that, Jack, that unlike, say, putting a costume on an actor who's going to do that role for the entire run, you're going to sort of the largest common denominator, I suppose.
Well, it's done with lacings to expand, and generally, rather than just doing, say, trousers or a skirt, it has a length up underneath so that it can do that. And there are limits, of course. But
sure. How does a Jack Edwards learn to do this? I mean, they didn't just find you in the yellow pages. I mean, well, what's your background? How did you learn to?
Well, I started by sewing buttons on my mother's handkerchief so she could button them in her pocket so she wouldn't lose her handkerchief.
Truly?
Yeah. But of course, I was the one losing the handkerchief.
So early on, I mean, you had a proclivity to work with this stuff, and one thing led to
another. Well, and to make things out of nothing. Sort of.
Good for you. Michael, background in theater?
Well, Holidazzle's a little different than my theater background, but as a child, it was all about taking things apart and putting them together again. And interestingly enough, Holidazzle reunited me with my childhood best friend, who I did do this stuff with. And he and I now do the floats, Jeff Bobkin. He's my engineer and designs all the electronics, which, back to your question about most interesting challenges, is the control systems. I think are fascinating, and the wiring we do is really remarkable. To me, the bigger show is underneath and behind the lights. Under there, I'm very proud of the engineering and also the people that apply the lights, led by David Wolf.
Okay.
Those are the things that really get me excited about it. I really like these people that I'm working with.
And an audience ought to really appreciate what you guys do, even though what they're seeing is the outside of it all. We've got a few minutes left, but I wanted to maybe get back and look at another clip. This is essentially the promotional tape that goes out over the air, and I think it includes some of the sponsors, but it gives a kind of a good professional look at a little bit of the Holidazzle Parade. So let's take a look at that and then come back and chat another moment or two.
The wonderment of a parade and a celebration of the holidays. Holidazzle 1994 wishes you the best and happiest holidays ever. Between now and New Year's, visitors to the Nicollet Mall will be able to experience 26 enchanting evenings of the Holidazzle Parade. The floats, the costumes, the music, and the lights that dazzle the night are all a tribute to the many caring people who volunteered to help brighten our holidays. And thanks to the special efforts and contributions of Dayton's, U.S. West Cellular, WCCO News Talk 830, City Center, Tom Thumb, Gavaday Common, ProX, NSP, and the Star Tribune, this annual event continues to spread joy and awe to thousands of visitors during each and every parade. So come and experience the beauty from the sidelines, or volunteer to become a costumed, belighted character and see the wonderment of the parade from a different point of view. The traditions of tinsel and the glitter of holiday lights are alive and well on the Nicollet Mall. Come be part of it. Call 270-SNOW for parade times and for volunteer information.
Well, what was interesting is we were watching that. Of course, Michael says, well, like any string of light bulbs, one of them's out. And at least you don't have to untangle them like I think most humans go through that. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you. We've got about 1 minute left to go on this. One last question. Anything new that you're thinking about for 95? Anything you can clue us into? New kinds of floats, or maybe a new ethnic tradition, maybe, or something?
Well, I'm pushing for an American, a Native American float, and also, or group, and also for an African American one.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see where we go. We don't know. And the one that was left out this year was the
Arabian Nights.
Arabian Nights
Yeah.
kind of
I
idea.
heard about that. Yeah.
So whether that will be there next year or not, I don't know.
Well, in any case, it looks good already. Congratulations, gentlemen. Do either of you ever don a costume and get down there?
I'm too busy.
All right, never
During
done that.
running the parade,
Okay.
we're trying to get everybody going as it
Okay.
is.
So through the holidays, downtown Minneapolis, Holidazzle. Thanks, gentlemen. Pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming down. Well, that is a lot of fun. I urge you to get down there, see the Holidazzle parade. And I'll be back in just a moment with Janet Zahn. We're going to wrap up a little bit. But first, let's take a look at a list we do at the end of the year in which we thank all the guests we've had on artifacts throughout the year. So we'll be right back. Well, as you could see from that list, we've had a lot of fun guests on, and I want to thank the City Cable 34 crew, too. They've gone out and done a lot of wonderful location shots, and we've had a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been a great year, so thanks to everybody who's been on the show, and thank all of you who've watched Artifacts. We're also very excited about next month. We're going to start a series, as it were. We're going to be looking at various Minneapolis neighborhoods as they're going through their neighborhood revitalization planning effort, including the arts. A number of neighborhoods have identified the arts as a development tool. So we're going to start with Gretchen Nichols, who's going to share with us what the Loring Park neighborhood is doing with the arts. And we're also going to have Wendy Ansley and Michael Engel on to talk about school curriculum for dance in the Minneapolis Public Schools.
And I'll have someone from the world of film and video. I'm sure it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And it'll be a good year. And I'd like to say thanks to everybody, too, for thanks to all of our guests, and thanks to you for watching. And now, as usual, we have our events calendar for December. Take out your pens and paper and write some of these down. A lot of good stuff going on.
We'll see you next year on Artifacts.
That's right. I'm Janet Zahn.
And I'm Phill Lindsay. Chud 2. Bud the Chud.
Bud the Chud. There's a fine film.
This Chud's for you.
David Irving, yeah, fine career.
Yeah, well, he did Rumpelstiltskin
Oh, that's interesting.
and Canon Movie Channel.
Look at all the people in it. Ooh, this is good. Who's this? Chuck Jones.
Now, there's a name I've never
Huge
heard.
list.
Huge.
Very long.
This is like in 2-point type. He's done, well, look at what he's done here. He's done Sniffles the Mouse Cartoon Festival.
That's what, yeah.
The Very Best of Bugs Bunny. This guy's an animator.
He's a big cartoon guy.
He's Mr. Reid. Is Sandy a director? Oh, I love these people here. Director now. Okay. Sandy Frank. Okay, here we go. Frank, you see Sandy Frank?
Frank.
I'm sorry, it goes from Robert Frank to T.C. Frank. Well, yeah. As a director, F-R-A-N-C-K.
Frank.
F-R-A.